And the new Teofimo Lopez outpoints Josh Taylor to become the new WBO light welterweight champion. Now, this is how you beat a champion. This was a very good performance by Teofimo Lopez, and I got to say that this was quite an entertaining fight to watch, particularly early on, more so early on, because both guys came out, they're in the ring, first bell's gone, and the size difference between the two men was noticeable, very noticeable. Josh Taylor looked enormous. Of course, height and reach are only two dimensions of many, but you could see who the bigger man was. And for my money, this was early on in the first round in particular. I feel like that I suspected that was going to set the tone, because Teofimo Lopez, from what I could see, did not look comfortable at all. Josh Taylor was really at every opportunity trying to bully Teofimo Lopez. We know that Teofimo Lopez, maybe not the most steadfast, especially recently from a mental perspective, has a lot of ability, but that ability doesn't mean much if you're not in the right headspace to actually use it. And Josh Taylor was really trying to do everything he could to unsettle Lopez and, back him up, bully him, try to be physical with him. And it was paying off early on. However, that didn't last long, because Lopez showed that he was steadfast in this fight. He wasn't going to be deterred. And yeah, a couple of early rounds where it wasn't great, it was looking a little bit shaky for him. But all of a sudden, he started to realise, at least this is how I interpret it, he started to realise that Josh Taylor only has so many ways he can attack me. And so when we started to go into those middle rounds, Teofimo Lopez, we started to see some of the more creative work, some of the more creative offense and creative setup of punches that we've seen in previous fights. And he was landing with some regularity and some accuracy on Josh Taylor. And I feel like that was the real pivotal period of the fight, were those, rounds 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's where Lopez got himself into the fight. The first 3 rounds, they were a bit sketchier. Josh Taylor looked like he was the boss. He looked like he was confident. Taylor very fiery, very amped up for the fight, looking to really impose himself. Lopez not looking great, but he stayed calm. That's what was really impressive. Lopez stayed calm, and he just kept looking. He kept looking. He displayed some of his sharpness early on, but the thing was, I feel like early on Taylor was matching that sharpness. It was very much tit for tat in some instances. But then we saw the real Lopez, if you want to call it that, start to come out. He started to warm into the fight. And I've got to say, people, from that point on, from those mid rounds on, I just started giving it all to Lopez. I feel like Josh Taylor really just fell into a rut of doing the same thing. And from that point on, it was really just Lopez having fun, really. He wasn't, I don't want to say he was completely beating the brakes of Josh Taylor. I don't think it was one of those fights. However, this was a comfortable Teofimo Lopez win, at least on my scorecard, which is obviously a topic of this fight, because 2 of the judges, Joe Pasquale and Steve Gray, both having it 113 to 115. I don't see that. I don't see that at all. And now I'm not going to say, the big C word. I'm not going to say that. But that wasn't the fight I was watching. Benoit Roussel, on the other hand, 111, 117. That's what I had it. I had this 9 rounds to 3. So, and if I wanted to be really generous, maybe I could give Josh Taylor an extra round and have it 8-4. But I'm quite happy with my 9-3 scorecard to Teofimo Lopez. And just having a glance at some of the fan scoring, a lot of people are in agreement with me. This was not really a close fight. As I say, early on, it looked like it was a little bit sketchy for Teo, but nah, man, he stuck in there. He found his groove, and when he did, it was really all Teo. Yeah, Josh Taylor was trying in spots, but even then, there were stretches where Josh Taylor just looked lost. And Andre Ward, I feel, said it best when he said that Josh Taylor just looks like he's looking for answers. And I feel like that is really, it's indicative of something I pointed out in the pre-fight video, where I said that, and this I was talking about this from a technical perspective, where Josh Taylor is a fighter who he has good head movement when it comes to his defensive responsibility, but in terms of his head movement, his positioning, his active guard when he's in front of an opponent, it's quite there's a very narrow window that he works within, and it doesn't allow him to really articulate his body to give an opponent different looks, unsettle them, set up different punches, and it leads to him being quite one-dimensional. And I feel we saw that in this fight because Teofimo Lopez, very explosive, very athletic, counter-puncher especially. You know, Teofimo Lopez, he can lead and lead well, but I feel like he really shines when he counter-punches. And that is really the worst thing you can do, or the worst weakness you can have against the counter-puncher, is when you don't have that, what kind of word am I looking for? You don't have that selection of different looks and different approaches, different entry points maybe. I know Chris likes to talk about entry points. You know, when you're able to advance with a different look, lining up different shots. Josh Taylor doesn't have that. He's quite straight up and down in a lot of sense. He's got a lot of polish, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's the most adaptable. It doesn't necessarily mean he's the most versatile in that sense. So when it came to that, and Josh Taylor had run out of ideas, and Teofimo had realised, okay, when we're in range, Josh Taylor's likely going to advance towards me. He's likely going to attack me with this, or that. It makes it so much easier for a fighter like Teo, sharp counterpuncher, to take advantage of that. And that's really what it was. And then it even got to a point where on the inside, where in the first 3 rounds, Taylor had a lot of success. We know he's a big guy. He likes that kind of scrappy work on the inside. He tightens his shots up well. And yes, he did have some success against Lopez. But that's when Lopez wasn't really in the fight. He hadn't properly warmed up into it. But Lopez, later on in the fight, he wasn't so concerned with trying to match the strength of Taylor. I don't know whether he felt he couldn't or whether he was like, I don't have to. But Josh Taylor, even when he was pushing Lopez back in a clinch or up close, Lopez was patient. You know, he was holding his ground, but sometimes he'd concede, kind of lull Josh Taylor into a false sense of security and then land a punch, usually an uppercut. And so Josh Taylor just couldn't seem to win at any range in the fight. And so this was, I want to say, a pretty comprehensive victory by Teofimo Lopez. It wasn't perfect, as I say. Opening rounds, he was settling into the fight. It looked like it was going to be a rough night, but I can't help but be impressed, because this is a guy who, even I've spoken about, doesn't seem to be in the best place mentally right now. But Teofimo Lopez showed that, look, 3 rounds is nothing. We still got another 9 rounds to go after this, and I'm going to make sure I stamp my authority on those. And on my scorecard, as I say, that's what Teo did. Yeah, after the 4th round and afterwards, after the 4th round, it was just Teo sweeping, pretty much. Some people may agree or may disagree. That's fine, but that's just my scorecard, and I feel like, yeah, that is how you beat a champion. So, what else do I want to talk about this fight? I don't think there's really much else to touch on, at least first time watching it, to be honest. As I say, fights like this, when you have one guy like Taylor who falls into a bit of a rut, when one fighter falls into a rut, it really can make a fight follow a pattern. I feel like that's what happened. And if you want to talk about stamping authority on a fight even more, the last round was probably Teo's best, because he was piecing up Josh Taylor badly. Josh Taylor looked like if there was another minute in the round, he may have had to take a knee, may have been knocked down, may have even been stopped if Lopez had really put his foot on the gas, because by this point, late in the fight, Taylor had, his success was so few and far between, and Lopez was having fun in there. And if you see your opponent having fun, enjoying himself, you know, looking to get into his groove, dancing around, all that kind of stuff, looking to be adventurous with his offense, you know you're in trouble. and you got this massive guy, massive target, Josh Taylor, just being pushed back with ease because he's getting pieced up with hard, accurate shots, head, body, sometimes being countered, sometimes Teo was just leading, timing him. Brilliant stuff by Teofimo Lopez. So he is now a 2-weight world champion. His second chapter, if you will, as a champion. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes next from here. Josh Taylor, also interesting considering this is his first loss, excuse me. Coming off the Catterall fight, which he won officially, but very few people think that he genuinely won that. So Josh Taylor's confidence must be in tatters right now. But that's what happens in boxing. If you fight good guys, you lose sometimes. So, just happens. That's the nature of sport in general. But yeah, interesting development. Of course, I picked Josh Taylor to win. I thought he was going to win on points, but no, man, it was Teofimo Lopez winning on points, winning big, I think. But those are my thoughts, my initial thoughts on this fight. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you agree with my thoughts? Do you disagree? And what did you score the fight? I don't think, just going off the bat, I haven't seen very many reactions. I've just been looking at the BoxRec scoring. I don't feel like there's going to be much debate amongst people regarding this, the scoring of this fight. I feel like, I had it 9 rounds to 3. I imagine that is probably the scorecard that most people have. Maybe 8-4 if they want to be generous towards Taylor. But I'd be interested to see and hear if any of you guys listening to this video had it 113 or 115 to 113 in favour of Lopez. Because for me, those margins are too narrow. But hey, if that's you, state your case below. And yeah, for now, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.